Tears for two men murdered in Boston's South End on full display today in a Boston courtroom. Tears Aaron Hernandez is allegedly responsible for because he apparently couldn't handle something as simple as a spilled drink, according to prosecutors. Hi, everybody. Maria Stefanos.
And I'm Mark Ockerblum. Ted Daniel. This case is about what seemed to be a mistake that allegedly resulted in two cold, calculated murders.
Mark, Maria, senseless. If this drive-by shooting happened the way it was described in court today, then Aaron Hernandez is an ice-cold killer, ruthless. On a Saturday night in July 2012, prosecutors suggest the then New England Patriot went looking for trouble. They say before he went out clubbing with a buddy, he put a .38 caliber revolver in the engine block of the loaner SUV he was driving. They describe Hernandez as paranoid and dangerous at the time, thinking people were out to mess with him. It's likely Aaron Hernandez heard it. Raw emotion coming from the first two rows. It's the first time the families of Daniel Abreu and Safira Furtado laid eyes on the former NFL player accused of killing the men. As Hernandez sat in shackles, his fiancée seated in a back row, Suffolk County Prosecutor Pat Hagan laid it all out in chilling detail.
In the months leading up to July 2012, the defendant had become increasingly sensitive and angered by what he believed to be people testing, trying, or otherwise disrespecting him.
Hagan says that's exactly how Hernandez felt when Daniel Abreu accidentally spilled his drink inside Cure Lounge. Hagan says Hernandez remained calm in the nightclub, but inside he was seething. When Abreu, Furtado, and three friends left the club around 2 in the morning, surveillance video allegedly shows Hernandez following in a rented SUV. When the 5 men stopped at a light a few blocks away, this is what Hagan says happened next.
The defendant leaned out of the driver's side window of the SUV with a loaded revolver in his hand extended out and stated, "Yo, what's up now?" and then a racial slur. The defendant immediately fired at least 5 rounds from a .38 caliber revolver into the victim's car. Witnesses reported hearing the clicking noise as the defendant continued to pull the trigger of the gun after all of the loaded bullets had been fired. The defendant stated to his friend, quote, "I think I got one in the head and one in the chest," end quote.
Ice cold, and in the hours after, calculating. Hernandez and a man believed to be Alexander Bradley drove back to Bradley's house in Connecticut. That's where authorities believe Hernandez's cousin, Tanya Singleton, picked up the SUV and locked it away in her garage. It was discovered in June, wiped clean. Hernandez attorney Charles Rankin called the hearing a big show.
This is not supposed to be a spectacle. It's not supposed to be a sporting contest. The defendant has been subjected to an avalanche of publicity, none of which we're responsible for.
When Mr. Rankin goes and rails and gives a speech about how it's unfair to the defendant, what's the alternative? To keep the public in the dark?
Relatives of Abreu and Furtado left court without comment. It appears the men might still be alive if it wasn't for something so common, a spilled drink in a crowded nightclub. So in court today, prosecutors listed some of what they say they have on Hernandez, including multiple eyewitnesses. Although the eyewitnesses have not been named, Fox 25 has learned one is Alexander Bradley, the guy who was with Hernandez that night. We know Bradley appeared before the grand jury investigating this case, and based on the level of detail released today, it would appear he talked. I'm Ted Daniel, Fox 25 News.